Hello everyone and welcome to IR Photo Tours, where today we're going to be talking star trackers. The Ioptron SkyTracker v the Skywatcher Star Adventurer Pro 2i. After this. For those that are new to my channel, my name is Ian Robinson. I discuss and review just about anything relating to photography and equipment. I also cover my favourite genre, landscape photography and travel. If you like my channel, could I ask that you consider to subscribe and try hitting that bell notification. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on, we are talking about star trackers. There's a misconception about these, and I'm going to talk about that later on. Now, I've got two here. One is the SkyTracker, and this is the Ioptron SkyTracker. And the Ioptron SkyTracker is one of, well, it's a fantastic little tool, but it has its downsides as well. Stability is not actually one of them, believe it or not. It is a very, very stable, basic star tracker. It has an on-off switch, takes 4 AA batteries, and you would need a ball head to go on top. Without the ball head, this particular SkyTracker would cost you £300. It's a really sturdy, solid construction and really well built, with an internal light for polar aligning. That in itself is really good. It also, on the top here, has a compass, basically, a very small compass. It's okay, it's a bit toy towny, but it does the job. So the SkyTracker itself, really hardy, hard wearing. I can put a Canon 100-400mm lens on this, on an EOS R or an M6 Mark II, which is of course very small and a lot lighter than the EOS R. So that on there with a steel tripod is an excellent choice. Really good at tracking, very stable, like I said. I have tried both of these now, and quite frankly I'm highly impressed with my old Ioptron. It's just basic and it works extremely well. The downside, I suppose the downside is the setting up. Once you've set up polar alignment, you can then move your camera to where you want on the ball head. And of course, the only issue with that is there is a small amount of flex. I mean, this is a good ball head. It's a Manfrotto ball head, and even that has a slight amount of movement when you want to point to a star. Now, bearing in mind, if you've got 100-400mm lens on, I tend to zoom out to 100mm or pull back to 100mm, so then I can read the stars where I want to be. So for example, if I want Orion's belt here and I want the Horsehead Nebula, for example, I can basically pull back to 100mm, find the 3 stars, which is really easy actually once you know where they are in the night sky. And in the 100mm, you'll easily get all the 3 stars in there, and then you can start playing and getting your composition right to the last point, or the last star, which is at the bottom. Anak, I will say it, Anak, I'm sure it's Anak or something like that. Anyway, that star is exactly the point where you want to be framing up for your shot in a portrait mode. So therefore you get your horse's head, and you get the nebula next to it, next to that star as well, like this shot here. Okay on this, but it is a bit of a pain. You do get used to it and eventually it's fine. But then you come along to this one and you have this nice bar here. You have lots of movement. So once you're polar aligned with the Skywatcher Pro 2i, everything's easy. I love everything about it other than the stability of it. In wind, with that 400mm lens on and the Canon EOS R or even the M6 Mark II, in wind that buffers so much, and it doesn't have to be strong wind, it can be light wind that will buffer. And see that? Now I'm being a bit harsh with that, but if you can see that, you can see the movement in that. It's on a stable platform, it's on the Benro tripod, but it's just not good enough in my opinion. What I do like about it, other than the stability, is the usability of it. Now we do have this scope here, which, like I said before, with the Ioptron, you've got internal reticular lights, and on here you have a separate one that you clip on. Okay, so that clips on. I don't know if you can see that. There's a light in there. See that light? This comes with two pieces, right? So that's your two pieces, okay? So they fix together, and when you take this one off, that is to actually physically take this this plate off here. So anyway, this, moving on, clips on to here like so, onto the end of the scope, and when you look right through from this point here up, you can view the Polaris basically, and then you can turn the light on and you can see the scope inside. So that's what that's for. Once you've done that, I advise taking that off, and once you've polar aligned perfectly and you've used that, turn it off, literally physically turn it off, put it to one side so you don't lose it. Now, a lot of people have said that's going to get lost. Chances are it probably will. If you're putting it in kit bags and what have you, and going on location, then that's possible that will get lost. So that's a downside to this. That does need an internal light, and quite frankly, Skywatcher hasn't listened to their viewers and their users of this, sadly. However, what it has got is got Wi-Fi, and that's an extremely good thing as well, because now you can do everything via your phone, via a cable from the snap point here to the camera's shutter release cable port. I can move this to any angle I want, which is great. So I can compose the shot of the night sky and the stars or the nebulas, and I can compose them really well by turning my lens on the mount itself and then locking it off. And the other thing that I really like about this, once you are polar aligned, like I said, you can then undo this big clutch here, which is pretty heavy, pretty hefty actually. And as you can see, I'm a bit counterweight heavy, so if I bring that up, yeah, there you go, that's perfect there. So as you can see, I'm perfectly balanced, and that's the other thing you've got to do with this mount is balance it on this bar and the counterweight there. But once you've done that, you're then ready to view your subject that you're pointing at, and to do that, like I say, the clutch is now open or loose. You can now move your camera to where you want the position of the night sky. Now you might not, once you've done that, you can lock off, and then you can undo this clutch, this one here, and then you can move the camera up and down. Okay, so you can move it to where you want and then lock that off. So that makes this incredibly flexible. And now, and the final bit is this fine adjuster here. So you've got a fine adjusting knob that you can use as well. Fixed onto the Benro carbon fibre tripod. I'm not so sure the carbon fibre tripod is stable enough. I think it is, to be fair. I mean, it is very stable, this tripod, I must admit. But what a lot of people will do is you have a hook here on the bar of the Benro, and what people do is put a guy rope on there and peg to the ground, and then tighten it up, so like a tent guy rope if you like, a brilliant method of doing that. And then that really makes that solid. It does have your degrees on your angles, and we are at 52 degrees here in Norfolk, UK. And the other thing, like I said, it does have a bubble as well, so make sure that that bubble is bang in the middle when you set up. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that it has here is these two screws. Now, when you're polar aligning, you can get very accurate to your Polaris, but these will finally turn this scope from side to side, basically side to side, until you're polar aligned perfectly in the scope. These nuts here do tighten them, but don't over tighten them. What you need to do is just tighten them and then slightly loosen them off again, so they're just tight enough. Because if they're too loose, obviously you're going to get a lot of play in this, and that adds to the vibration and any movement that you're going to get in the stars. Once you've done these, you need to make sure that they are tight together. So one goes one way, one goes the other way, and make sure they're tightened together, because if you don't, then this whole thing can be loose. And anything that is loose on this mount, especially this mount, can cause you problems with sharp images. Now, like I said before, the thing that I'm struggling with right now is wind. And I don't mean too many vegetables, I do mean the wind outside. And the wind outside does buffer this, and I am going to show you this, because look, let's see if I can be really stable with my camera. Don't do it, yeah, I mean, hopefully you can see that. I hope you can. But that buffers so much. So you do get a little bit of wind resistance on there, and especially if you're focused out to 400 mil, which you want to be really for some of the nebulas up there, especially Orion Nebula. You want to be zoomed out that far. Saying that, just one more thing as well about balance is if you're balancing and you've zoomed out, then you could end up with that zoomed out, you could end up unbalanced again. So just check it, and actually that's not bad at all. So we're okay with that. And then just lock this dirty great big clutch off. I mean, to be fair, it is rather solid. It is solid. I think you just need a good calm night. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has had this problem with windy nights when it comes to astrophotography. Please leave a comment down below if you feel that you know that I'm doing something wrong. But is wind a major factor? I think it is. The Ioptron, however, seems to cope with it extremely well. I'm surprised. So the Ioptron here, like I say, has your polar scope finder. It's a bit more, shall we say, a bit more crude, as in the build quality, the build of the cogs and what have you, but it's still good enough. And once you've locked this off, really locked it off well, that is not going anywhere, it's not moving, and I like that. And this one here, because it's small and compact, there's nothing to really move on it other than unlike the long bar here. So you've got a counterweight there and a lens here. Now in between that, there can be a lot of flex like this, and there is. Whereas this one here is, well, it's just what it is. It's a very solid, compact, robust piece of kit. And once it's on this ball head and you tighten the ball head off, some people have had issues with these screws, but I haven't personally. It's not been a problem for me. But what some people do is drill a hole into the main bar here and then put the screw in there so it doesn't move at all. I didn't feel I needed to do that. Some people, you know, they do what they do, but I've not had to do that. Anyway, the ball head itself, you clip this. I would clip that scenario here into the ball head, and again polar align, and I wouldn't have any issues with that at all. So what I'm going to do is show you that setup actually on the Ioptron. So what you have to do now is put on the Manfrotto clip that goes onto your camera or lens. For this scenario, I'm putting it on my lens. I'm not sure I've got that the right way or not. Soon find out. And then we put it onto the Ioptron. Yes, I have got it the right way. And again, with the Ioptron, of course, we can turn our camera whatever way we want to compose on this particular lens. So if you're using a 200mm lens, for example, you've got the same scenario here with the collet, so you can turn the collet anywhere you want. And that's the 70 to 200mm lens, which I use quite a lot as well. And yeah, it works well. With the Canon M6 Mark II, 200mm would then become 120 on top of that, 320mm. If you put the 2x converter on here and have the M6 on here as well, you would end up with a focal length of 800 plus 60, 120, 120, 240, 480. 480 on top of 800 is 1280. So you'd have 1280mm equivalent focal length with an M6 Mark II on there and a 2x converter on top of your 400mm lens, zoomed out at 400mm, which is phenomenal. But you don't really need that kind of focal length for deep sky photography and these nebulas here, for example. North American Nebula here, that was done at 400mm and that was too tight, and that was on the Canon EOS R, so that was too tight. So I would need to pull back from that a good 100mm, a minimum, I'd say 100mm, and then you get that in the shot a little bit more and composed a little bit more than what I've got here. I've got that really fully in the frame there at 400mm. Ioptron SkyTracker. I kind of think it's quite value for money. It's a good piece of kit. It's stable. It is very stable, if I'm honest. I do like it a lot. I do tend to use that a lot. Now the new Skywatcher Pro 2i, 300 and nearly getting on for 50 quid, 350 quid nearly. You do get value for money when it comes to kit. They do show this with a telescope on, and amazing really. But like I say, I think the stability side of it is a bit much for me. So I haven't tried this particular scenario on it yet, and maybe I should. And maybe I should just stick that on after polar aligning and not using the counterweight bar, and seeing how that works with the 400mm lens on it. Perhaps I could do that now actually. Tighten that up, and now we have a completely different scenario altogether. Okay, and then we put that on to there, like so, and just lock it off. Okay, so now we've got that scenario, which quite frankly, that's how I'm going to try and use it, because the counterweight bar is a bit of a pain, to be honest. So that's how I'm going to try and use it from now on, especially in windy conditions. That would be a lot more stable. In fact, it is a lot more stable. With this scenario, of course, you will have to polar align before you put your mounts and everything on. So you'd have to take this whole mount off by unscrewing it, putting your polar aligner illuminator on there, and then polar align first, and then take the illuminator off and then put this back on. That is the Skywatcher Adventurer Pro 2i. I have 2,850 milliamp hour batteries in there, and they will last me a very long time. Somebody was mentioning on one of the reviews that I was watching that this plastic cover isn't that good, but I don't know what they want for the money. And that's a solid bulk of a piece of kit, and of course you have the wedge as well connected to all this. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's a really nice piece of kit. I need to use it more. I don't think it's as stable with the counterweight bar on. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with some images I've done from this setup and this setup as well. And I'm going to show you some images from both of them and see what you think. I've really enjoyed the astrophotography lately. We've had some really clear skies lately as well. We had one really nice clear sky. Well, we've had a couple of really nice clear skies, let me say. And yeah, they worked really well. And I've managed to get the Orion Nebula in, the Horse's Head Nebula, the North American Nebula, and also M31. Got Amanda coming in a minute, and we're going to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Lovely old job. And guys, thank you very much for watching. Me, my partner, Amanda Seminario, and my beautiful dog, Douglas. Yes, hello, give me a kiss under the mistletoe, yes. Anyway, from us guys, it's been a lovely, lovely old job, and to you, a very Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Amanda.
Merry Christmas, Ian. Merry Christmas, everybody, and hopefully a happier New Year than it has been for 2020.
Oh, God, yeah, please.
But all the best.
Yeah, all the best for the new year, 2021. Let's hope for a better year next year. But you know what? This year has been pretty good with IR Photo Tours and the YouTube channel. So thank you very much, everyone, for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I have broken the 1000k barrier. The video up there shows that. I was really super excited about that. So thank you very much. Keep supporting us, and yeah, we'll come up with new products, new ideas of photography and what have you. Anyway, from us, it's been a lovely old job.